Grant, thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Absolutely.
Incisor TV has been tracking Thread for quite some time and enjoyed the company of your predecessor, Chris, at one of our roundtable meetings in Las Vegas. So since you took up the role, I thought it'd be a good idea for us to catch up and, can you bring us up to speed with the latest developments at Thread Group?
Absolutely. So most of our efforts through the last 6 months have been very much focused around our 1.1 activities. Leading up to that, we've just released the 1.0. Pardon?
Not me.
We've released the Thread 1.0 beta program, and that is allowing companies that are ramping up to our release of 1.1 to kind of do some early certification, early validation of their products. And we're effectively planning for a summer of Thread, and at that point we hope to release our 1.1 spec. We hope to have our certification program up and running, and by fall of this year hope to have products well on their way to market.
Okay, well, prior to taking over as president at Thread, what were you doing at Nest and potentially at Thread, and how did this help you in taking over the president role?
Absolutely. It's an excellent question, Vince. So I'm a fairly early Nest employee and engineer, I think employee 5 or 6. So I've had a deep history at Nest. I'm currently a principal engineer at Nest in our network technology software group. That group oversees all of our core software and protocol infrastructure that deals with information flowing into and out of our products. And so we cover Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 802.15.4, Thread, so on and so forth. And one layer up from there, we also cover an application layer called Nest Weave. In terms of transitioning into Thread, Chris, myself, and the folks at Inventures actually were sitting in the earliest meetings at Nest when the Thread group was kind of ideated. So Chris and I were actually standing hip to hip the whole way. He was kind of in the foreground, I was kind of in the background. And in fact, I wrote the first functional requirements document from a product perspective for Thread. So the transition was really a very easy and natural one, just kind of transitioning from the background into the foreground.
Okay, well, a question that I'm sure a lot of people are asking or wondering about anyway. How much is Thread driven by Google and by Nest?
It's an excellent question. I'm certain that there's a perception that Thread Group might be weighted in one direction or another from certain sponsor companies. But the truth of the matter is that Nest participates in Thread on a very equal footing with the other 11 board members and board companies. And the perspective that we bring to the table is one of consumer products, but there really is a full gamut of perspectives that all the different sponsor companies bring, from silicon to stacks to even now with the addition of companies like Schneider Electric, commercial products.
Okay, and you mentioned Weave. What is the relationship between Thread and Weave?
Another excellent question. So Nest Weave is really one of many potential application layers for Thread. Nest Weave was designed for IPv6 networks in particular, of which Thread happens to be one. But it's notable that when we designed Nest Weave at Nest, we really designed it from the outset with Thread in mind. But again, it's just one of many application layers that Thread could support. And on that particular front, Thread has 2 active alliance liaisons with 2 other organizations. One is the Zigbee Alliance, and the Zigbee Alliance is working on taking their application layer and migrating that to Thread. And then we also have another alliance that we've recently announced with the Connected Lighting Alliance, and they're looking at moving lighting applications to Thread.
What's the thinking behind releasing OpenThread then?
It was really about providing an accelerator for Thread to companies that are thinking about entering the connected home, the Internet of Things space. And we really wanted to give them a kind of a standardized platform to start from, and rather than developing and investing engineering efforts in building their own stack or waiting for other vendors to provide a stack, to really synergize the market, collaborate, and accelerate the adoption of Thread.
Fine, okay, thanks. Well, you mentioned your alliances with other alliances, and certainly there's been a lot of noise about similar type of work going on inside the Zigbee Alliance and Thread. How would you respond to that?
So there's really a very clean separation of concerns between the Zigbee Alliance and Thread. Thread is really focused on designing a low power, low bandwidth, robust, simple, secure, scalable IPv6 network for the connected home and applications beyond. And Zigbee is really focused on bringing their best of brand, best of breed application stacks and application profiles to IPv6 networks, of which Thread happens to be one well suited due to the history with Zigbee on 802.15.4. So really it's a kind of a perfect marriage, if you will, of bringing two strong competencies together to provide a great end-to-end solution.
So there's no duplication of effort there?
No, not at all. In fact, it's really a great collaboration and really defining the clean boundaries of where we end and Zigbee begins, and hopefully that will be great for consumers and great for products.
Okay, well, you've released a 1.0 specification. Is that something that OEMs can build to, or do they need to wait for a later version of the spec?
It's an excellent question and an excellent distinction to make. So Thread 1.1 is standalone and fully functional on its own. But in terms of practical thinking from a product perspective, it can be best thought of as a kind of development or technology preview release. But it really provides a seamless segue into Thread 1.1. And once the Thread 1.1 test harness and certification programs are available, I think technology adopters, product companies, etc., will find a very seamless transition through that pipeline into release on 1.1. So,
slightly off our topic list, but how long do you reckon that'll be before companies can start building to Thread?
They can again start now with either Thread 1.0 and the Thread 1.0 beta certification program. As I mentioned earlier in the session, our intent is to have the full 1.1 specification and certification program available this summer. So really we're talking about a very, very short delta between what work they can do now and kind of taking that to production this summer.
Rightio. And next we wanted to know whether you consider Thread is a technology that consumers need to be aware of. You do have built on Thread and Thread certified component branding. Is this going to be pushed, and is it something that people will have to look for on product boxes, etc.?
I think that's an excellent question, and I think we'll want to wait till the certification program is out this summer to really answer that in depth. But I think at the end of the day, different companies will take different approaches. Some companies will want a very strong affinity to the technology with their own brand, and other companies may not. But I think we'll get more definition about that this summer once our certification program is announced and released.
Okay. And next we were going to just talk about the fact that you've got some big name consumer brands coming on board as members. Osram and Schneider Electric are two that come to mind. Does this mean that Thread is focusing on or concentrating on the smart home, or are there ambitions to move beyond this?
The consumer, the residential, and the smart home is really our core and our focus. But Thread as a technology is really broadly applicable to a lot of different markets. And so while we remain focused on that core goal, we've really all along been open to being effectively pulled in new directions where it makes sense. And certainly some of the business that Osram is in from a lighting perspective and Schneider Electric from a electrical equipment perspective in light commercial and commercial is really a natural evolution for Thread beyond the home. And so as other kind of members and sponsors and contributors become interested, we continue to be open to having Thread moved in new directions that were beyond the kind of core definition of consumer, residential, and the home.
Okay, Grant. Well, we'll finish off with the sort of cheeky question, really. This is a competitive marketplace that you operate in, and obviously we talk to a lot of people who have, let's call them alternative or perhaps competing solutions to the one that you're offering. Some of those people have referred to Thread as just an IP-based networking stack. Do you think that's a fair comment, and or is Thread a real player in the Internet of Things?
I think that's a fair but honestly under-described summary of Thread. I think that probably hand waves away some of the more important and salient aspects of Thread, and that is it's low power, it's robust, it's simple, it's scalable and secure. And I think with those attributes, it really becomes an attractive keystone technology as a component for the Internet of Things product. It's certainly not guaranteed to be the only component for any and every product, but it certainly is a very attractive keystone technology for most Internet of Things products. So we think it's true that you will see, much as you have with, for example, Nest products, products that feature Wi-Fi, products that feature Bluetooth Low Energy, and products that feature Thread. And there'll be some products that will have a subset of those three, or maybe even only one of those three. But certainly Thread will be consistent through a lot of connected home Internet of Things products.
Well, I think that's a calm, considered and measured response, Grant. Thank you very much for that. We've come to the list of topics that we set out to talk about. Thanks so much for your time today. We'll continue to track Thread, and I will maintain contact through the appropriate channels. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Vince. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you this morning, and I look forward to communicating and touching base in the future.